Okay, well, bit of a coincidence, but it works out just for the better. I had intended when I came out today to do a little feather sticking as part of the challenge for Nova Scotia Bushcraft and post a video showing myself doing some feather sticking. And I've got to say, it's not something I do on a regular basis. Most of the time, as I'm walking through the woods, I'll grab a little birch bark off a fallen dead birch tree, and I'll use that to get my fire going, and I'll go along where I find some dead spruce or pine or fir and get the little tiny under branches, which are usually very dry, and make the initial kindling very nice. But you know, every once in a while you get into a section of woods where there's no birch. And I find that hard to believe in Nova Scotia, but the woods I'm in right now, there's no birch within easy walking distance. Yeah, I could go looking for some, but kind of defeats the purpose for the feather sticking. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to be pretty much forced to start my fire with feather sticks, and not that that's a bad thing. It's just it's a little bit more work than birch bark and small kindling. But yeah, so let me get set up. I've got to baton a piece of a dead branch that I took off one of the pines here, and I'm going to split it down and see if I can't make a few feathers and curls. So the challenge is to make enough curls and feathers to fill a baseball hat. Well, I don't have a baseball hat, but I do have my Tilly hat, and yeah, I should be able to make enough to fill that up, at least enough to get my fire going. So stay tuned, and we'll get set up for that. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself, and I wanted to see if this piece of dead pine was going to make for a good candidate. Looks like it might. Got a few curls going off of it already. So the knife I'll be using today is my XXX Forester No. 2. Good size knife, quite sturdy and exceptionally sharp. In the year that I've had it, I've really only had to touch up once on stones. Maybe, and I'll talk more about this later. So let's see what I can do in terms of making some curls. I tend to make my rough ones, my big ones first, and then I'll go into the fine ones later. So let's give it a start. Well, I'm getting there. Not quite enough to fill the hat yet, but working on it. I think likely I'm going to have to split this down to see if I can get at the inside wood. Let's give that a go. Old pine doesn't always split the way you want it to, and I am noticing there's a bit of fat wood here at this end where I took it off close to the trunk. You know, pine's not always the easiest thing to work with. Oh, I've got some inside stick. Let's see what I can do with this. Alright, there's my hatful. I've got to get into some finer shavings before I can get a fire going, but that should be enough to get going. I've got some small sticks here that'll act as my fuel, and yeah, we're ready to go. So I've been sitting around in my hammock, enjoying the view out over the water, and saw that there was a small dead maple. It's right beside the hammock. I got up, I was going to saw it off, but it did break off. I thought, another opportunity to practice doing a little feather sticking. I didn't record it, but I thought I'd show you the end result. Not really good, but there are smaller curls in there. You can probably see that there are curls in there that would accept a spark. It's one of those things you have to get out and practice. Maple reacts entirely different than did the pine, or any other wood, I guess. They all react differently. The age and state of dryness for the wood will make a difference, as of course other factors like the sharpness of your knife. But get out and practice. It's one of those skills you may not use all the time, but when you're in the woods that don't have the materials you'd need to start an easy fire, this is one sure way of getting into dry wood, getting down to some very fine kindling, something that will take a spark directly from either a ferrocerium rod or even a split match. Yeah, we'll add that into the posting on feather sticking.